Hey everyone, today I'm going to be showing you how to make a simple checkpoint and saving mechanic within Unreal Engine. Let's get into it. As you can see, I've created a new third-person project so that everything's black. So to begin with, we are going to create a new blueprint class. Now, we're not going to take any of the common classes. We are actually going to have to go down to all classes and in the search type in save and create a save game class. So select that. You can name this whatever you want. I'm just going to be naming this save underscore tutorial. Now you can go ahead and open that up. And in here, we're going to be saving all of our variables, all of our data. In this case, it's going to be just our location. So you create a new variable, which is going to be our player location. Now we're going to be turning this into a vector variable, actually. If you drag this out here, you can see that it actually saves our X, Y, and Z values. So go ahead and just compile that. That's all we need to do for now. And in our content browser, we can also make a new blueprint here. This one's just going to be a standard actor. This is going to be our actual checkpoint itself. So just call this checkpoint underscore BP. And open that up. And in here, we're going to add a new component right off the bat. And that's going to be a standard box collision. And this will be our trigger, actually. Now, one thing I want to do right now is turn off hidden in game, just so when I place this in the viewport, I can actually see where it is in the world when I play. So I'll just turn that off. You don't have to do that. And then we go ahead and scroll down here. And in our events tab, we see on component begin overlap, which means that when the player actually overlaps this box, it'll set off an event. So we click the little plus icon. And then our event, we're going to start off by adding a sequence, which allows you to do multiple things. So we're just going to worry about one thing at a time now. We'll just drag off this one. And we're going to cast to our player, which is our third person character. Don't forget to actually plug in get player character in your object. And now one thing we want to do is create a new variable, which is again our player location. Turn that into a vector. Ooh, not a rotator, vector. Compile that already. So we want to wait, nothing yet. No, we're gonna, as our third person character, we actually want to drag off and get actor location. So get our player's location. And then with that location, we want to set our player location variable. Very simple. That's all we have to do for now. And down here, our next part of our sequence is going to be actually saving that value, our location. So first thing, to save an object, we need to check if there is a save present. So does save game exist? And then you see slot name, which is the slot where all of our data is saved in. In this case, I'm just going to be calling it check for a checkpoint. And then off of our return value, we're going to get a branch. Now you can either right click, type in branch and place one, or you could just hold B and click. Very simple way of doing that. So I'll just drag our return value in there. So we're going to start off if there is no save, if there hasn't been a save yet. So what we do then is we drag it off and create a, not a session, create save game object, which in our case is our save underscore tutorial. With our return value, we can now set our player location from within our save tutorial blueprint. And what are we going to be setting it to? That's right, our variable that we just created. So now we've set our variable of our player location here and saved it into our save underscore tutorial variable. Now we still need to save it in the game. How we do that? With our return value, we drag that off and say save game to slot. This will save the variable we just changed. And our slot name, once again, is check. You can name it whatever you want to. And there we go. And that's the basics of it right now. So if I go into the world and actually drag one of the checkpoints out here, just lift that up a little bit. So yeah, as you can see, I turned off hidden in game so I could see it while I'm running. And if we go past this, it will have now actually saved our data. However, if we now press play, we still spawn here for some reason. That's because we actually haven't told the game to spawn the player at its checkpoint location. But before we do that, I want to go back into our checkpoint blueprint. And one small thing I want to do is drag off our save game to slot and just do a print string that says game saved. Or you know what, just do checkpoint reached. And let's not put that here, but instead here where we set our player location. Now before we go and continue and actually tell the game to load, we actually still have to do our true. So if there is a save present, then what we need to do is actually load game. We need to load our game from the slot. This will just load the variables up. Once again, check. And from this, we actually have to cast to our save underscore tutorial. And then as that, we are going to drag that out again and set our player location. Same thing as before here. And we can also just plug that into our variable. And then we can just copy paste this and save game to slot. Very simple. So compile, press play, just here, if you walk through it, checkpoint reached. And that will have saved our player's location. So yeah, we still don't spawn. That's what we're going to be doing now, so that we actually spawn at our checkpoint. To do that, we have to open up our level blueprint. Right now it's a completely blank canvas. So to start off, we're going to be adding an event, begin play. So when the level first loads, what we want to do is once again ask, does save game exist? With the same name for our slot, add a branch, true or false. So if there is a save present, we'll load game from slot. And with our return value, we'll cast again to our save tutorial, just like before. And then as our save tutorial, we'll actually get, instead of set, our player location. And with that player location, now we're gonna actually have to cast to our third person character. Don't forget to plug in your get player character. And then as our player character, we're actually going to set actor location. And which location we'll be setting is the player location we just got from our save tutorial, our save blueprint. Very simple. So now if you play, as you can see, we spawn where our checkpoint is. Very simple. And in fact, we can actually go ahead and Control-C, Control-V, we can actually copy and paste this and put it over somewhere else. And now if the player were to actually walk over this one, it will have saved this one here. So it's easy to reuse and place over the map wherever you want. Now that we've got a simple checkpoint system up, I want to also create a death and respawn system. So to do that, we're going to start off by creating a new blueprint. Again, an actor. This will be our death, so this will be our death box, so we're just going to be calling it death underscore BP. And open that up. Now, this is going to be very similar to what we did with the checkpoint. Actually, we're going to add a component, which is going to be a box collision again. This will be our death trigger. And again, I want to turn off hidden in game, just so I can see it in the viewport. And then once again, scroll down here into events and on component begin overlap. So once the player overlaps with this box, what we're going to want to do is actually cast to our third person character. Get our player character. And then as our third person character, we're going to disable its input so that when you die, you can't actually move. Now for this, you're also going to have to plug in your get player controller. There you go, because that controls everything. So yeah, once the input has been disabled, we're going to add a delay of, say, roughly 2 seconds. You can also easily add in a delay by holding D and clicking. Very useful. So delete those. So once those 2 seconds have run out, once it's completed, we're going to drag off and we're going to ask, does save game exist? Once again, check. Slot name check. And our return value, again, a branch. So if there is a save game, true, we're going to load our game from slot. And with our return value, we're going to cast to our save blueprint. And then as our blueprint, we're going to get player's location. Basically the same, what we did in the world blueprint. And then again, cast to our player, cast to third person character. Get our player. And once again, set actor location. Plug in our player location to the new location. And there we go. The player will now, if he dies, have a 2-second delay. It'll check if there's a save. If there is, it'll load up the save, get the variable, and teleport our player to its checkpoint. However, if there isn't a save, now then one thing I want to do is, well, if there isn't a save, this is more or less a fail-safe if the player somehow dies before reaching a checkpoint. Then what we're going to do is open a level, and our level is currently set to none, but if we right click on it, we can promote it to a variable. And this will be our level. Now, make sure to actually click this eye icon here, just so we can change it within the editor itself. And then compile this. So yeah, there we go. So now if we actually add this into our world, expand it a bit, place it in this nice little pit. Okay, so if our character actually were to walk into this, our controls will be disabled, 2 seconds will have passed and we'll respawn. However, as you can see now, we can't move. So let's go back into our checkpoint. Oh wait, no. Into our death blueprint. And then once the character has been teleported, you want to drag off as your third person character and enable the input again. And once again, drag off and get player controller. And there we go. And if you click on this in the world, you can actually set what level it is just in the event. This is mainly just for debugging, so if the player somehow breaks the game and dies before reaching any sort of checkpoint, then the game will just reload. So very simple. So currently we've got a nice non-linear checkpoint system as well as a respawn mechanic setup. Great. However, there's one small issue with this. If I were to open up a new level and try and play, the character would instantly spawn to where the previous checkpoint was, the same location, but in a different world. So what we need to do is before loading a new level, we need to cancel out our checkpoints. We need to remove those locations. Although the way that I'm going to be doing this isn't so much removing the locations as just saying to the game to not load the player at that location. You'll see what I mean. So to do this, we're going to go back into our checkpoint blueprint, and we're going to add a new feature by dragging away the first thing here, our begin overlap, and we're going to create a new variable, which is going to be load. And this doesn't have to be a vector, this actually has to be a boolean. So compile real quick, and already set this to on by default. And now what we want to do is actually drag this in, get load, and have a branch at the beginning. So before any of this happens, it'll ask a question: do we want to load this once we've saved? If so, everything will continue as normal. If not, what we're going to be doing is loading our game from slot. We don't need to check if there is a save game because this will be our final checkpoint if we activate this. Once again, check. And we'll cast to it. And then, oh, before we continue, we actually have to go back to our save blueprint. Over here where we store all of our variables. And we have to create a new one, which is the same name, load. And also, once again, a boolean. Compile that and go back to your checkpoint. And now, as our save tutorial, we want to set load, and we want to turn that off. And then you want to save. You want to save game to slot again, so that all this is saved. We don't need to do anything with the player location in this one, because we're just telling the game that loading is off. However, if we turn it off here, we have to turn it back on here as well. So we need to drag away these two. And from these, and from our save tutorial, we're going to drag it out and set load again for both of these. And in this case, instead of turning it off, we're going to turn it on for both of them. And we're going to also add a print string here at the bottom saying checkpoint cancelled or checkpoint cleared. Oh, cleared. There we go. So compile that. Oh, seems like we've got an error. Oh, I've just forgot to plug this in. Compile again. There we go. Everything seems to be working. So now, once we overlap, we'll ask if loading is on or off. If it's on, everything will continue just as normal. Check for a game save. And then whether it's not, and if there is one, we'll load the game and change the variables and save it. If there isn't, we'll create a new one. However, if loading is turned off, it will load the game and turn off loading within our save. So now to actually add this to the game itself, we have to go back to the level blueprint. And this one's very simple. What we have to do is over here where we actually teleport our player and set the checkpoint location, we just grab these four, drag them back a bit, and then from our saving blueprint, we have to drag it out and get load and add another branch. So if loading is enabled, everything will continue as normally. We'll cast to our player and set its location. However, if loading is turned off, nothing will happen and we'll just spawn as if we normally would. So now, if we actually add a new checkpoint here at the end, make it a bit bigger, and if we set, one small thing, go back to your checkpoint and actually click this eye icon so we can change it, compile, and then now you've got the option to load on or off. So for the last one, we want to turn it off so that loading is off for the next time we launch the game. So if we play and we save our checkpoint and then we quit and launch again, we'll spawn here like normal. However, if we actually go to the ending one here, we'll say checkpoint cleared, and then if we stop the game and play again, we'll spawn back where we spawned before. And there we go. However, if we were to clear our checkpoint and go into our death void here, we'll actually respawn at our checkpoint before this one, because this is for if you're at the end of a level, you don't wanna respawn here. You actually have to respawn at the one before that. And there's one last thing I want to show you guys. It's very simple. As you can see, this is non-linear, so you can go back and forth between the two. So one small thing I want to do is, if you were to actually stop this real quick and go into our checkpoint. Now at the end of these two where you save your game to slot, you can just drag off, add a small delay of 2.5 seconds. Oh, 0.2 seconds, sorry. And once that's completed, we can actually drag that off and destroy actor. So this will destroy our checkpoint, but it will still save the values. So if you compile this, press play, as you see, the checkpoints disappear. However, if you die, you'll still respawn at where they were. So there we go. We've made a simple checkpoint mechanic that you can place wherever you'd like, as well as a death and respawn and a clear. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions, make sure to leave them in the comments below. If you want to see the next video, feel free to subscribe. And if you want, you can join our Discord in the description. Thanks for watching.